Good morning. Welcome, Beth Butler, formerly known as Margaret Vincent. Well, this is kind of exciting, Beth, because this is our first sister story, in the communication office since the pandemic started, because we did Zoom. Now we're doing both. We can get our sisters far away on Zoom, and then those of us in Adrian we can do in person. So thank you for your willingness to share your story, which is an unusual and exciting story. Every sister story is unusual and special and exciting, but yours has a little different flavor from the rest of us. So, but one thing that we really like to begin with is your history. People want to know who's Beth Butler and where is she from, and when did she enter and where did she go to school. And when I saw Mackenzie, I knew where you went to school, a Detroiter. So why don't you start back where you first began your journey, is you were born and your family and your schooling, and perhaps a couple people that were inspirational in your life and the decisions that were to follow. Mm-hmm. So it's all yours.
Fine. Okay, thank you. Well, we come from an Irish heritage in Emmett, Michigan. Mom and Dad were from Emmett, Michigan. And then
now, who is from Emmett? Mother Gerald? No, Mother...
The Nolan sisters.
The Nolans, okay.
Yes, and they always used to say that...
Not Genevieve?
No.
Okay.
That nuns and priests came from Emmett.
Okay.
A lot of IHMs.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, so they're from Emmett. In fact, we spend our summers there.
Okay.
A lot of our summers with cousins and had a great time.
Nice.
But then Dad joined the police department and moved into Detroit. So Mom moved, of course, with Dad in Detroit. So our heritage or our background now is Detroit.
Okay.
And
how did your mom and Dad meet?
In Emmett.
They both were from there?
They were both from Emmett,
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
And they had quite a few get-togethers and whatever, and they met there. And then we had 5 children, 3 brothers and a sister, and they're all military. It's interesting. We have 2 Marine brothers, a Navy brother, and a sister in the Air Force.
Really?
And I was with the Dominicans, and Mom was with the American Red Cross, and Dad was in uniform. So Mom said, "Oh, good, we can all be buried in a uniform."
Oh, you disappointed?
So,
or do you want to be buried in your hat? Or the police uniform?
Well, I want my police outfit out,
got it.
My badge and what. But anyway, from there, I always went to a public school because we had 5 kids, and Mom couldn't afford Catholic schools.
No.
So, but I did go to Our Lady Gate of Heaven for 7th and 8th grade, and met our nuns there and fell in love with them.
Right.
And I thought, this is the life for me. But the nun said to Mom, "Don't worry, Mrs. Butler, about her going to Catholic school. She's not really convent material." So I thought, well, so much for that. But anyways, they said if she still feels like it when she gets out of Mackenzie, then she can come and see us. And that's what happened.
Interesting.
And then they always said, then finally ending up in criminal justice, nuns would, everyone would ask, how did a sister get involved with the police and prisons?
Right. So you went to Mackenzie High School. That's on the west side.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
We designate Detroit by east side, west side.
Oh, okay.
Chicago's north side, south side. So, and then what happened in high school that you just always knew you wanted to be
Always
a nun?
knew, yeah. Yeah, I don't know what it was. The back burner, they say.
Uh-huh.
And they said Mom was a saint, Dad was a police officer. You put the 2 together, and you get a nun in criminal justice.
Oh, clever.
That's how I always answered that question.
But that's not how you started out in your ministerial life.
No. I started out in St. Rita's.
Chicago.
Oh, no, look, maybe I should do the education first. I got a degree at Berry, and bachelor's, and then in Florida State, a degree in criminology, and then Michigan State was a good degree in criminal justice, master's. Mm-hmm. That was my university, but my real education came from the streets.
Oh, I'm sure.
And I can get into some of that.
I'm sure.
But yes, I went to St. Rita's, was my first mission. St. Rita's. And I don't know about you, but in high school, all the girls and the guys, we dated together in groups. We just didn't go out much. And so when I entered and went to St. Rita's, the guys all went to Great Lakes. And they
Now, what was Great Lakes?
Great Lakes, a military
Okay,
base, big
okay.
base
Okay.
in Chicago. And because they kept coming over, the superior said she is on the fence. So they sent me back to Adrian because the guys kept coming. Well, they were just buddies. They were high school friends. So I went back to Adrian
my God.
and taught at St. Joseph's
Academy.
for a couple years.
So we could watch you.
Yes, keep their eye on me. And then I went to Miami,
Okay.
Miami Beach, and taught at St. Joseph's.
Okay.
So,
Right. And then from Miami Beach?
but Miami, I just went all over Florida, Rosarian, everybody. I mean, every institution you can
And so
think
at the
of.
schools you taught.
Taught
All right, but when did-
primary grades.
okay.
And then, I guess, let me just talk about Rosarian. This is a cute story. You know, I was in charge of the bulletin board. Then every time that the nuns, or the kids, would come out of Mass and go into the refectory, they had to read the thought for the day. And I was in charge of that. So I had the girls help me out. And they said, "What's the thought for the day, sister?" I said, "Dear God, make the world better and start with me." So I said, "Oh, they said, okay." So then they hollered back, "Start with who?" I said, "Start with me." So the next day at the morning, as we walked down, I said, "Dear God, make everybody in the world better and start with Sister Beth." That was Rosarian,
That's cute.
but that was nice.
That was cute.
But you know, I was always institution. I was at Rosarian, then at Berry,
Uh-huh.
and then,
Sienna?
oh yes, at Siena. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I was always in those institutions. So I went from grade school to the university.
Okay.
First at Siena.
And what
In-
did you taught there?
I taught at Siena as I was finishing my master's in criminal justice.
And what made you get into criminal justice?
Well, it was in my genes,
your
I
blood,
think.
yeah.
It was with Dad and stories. He didn't tell too many stories to us, but we heard him downstairs with the officers playing cards. I sit on the steps and listen to their stories.
That's right, growing up with your dad as a cop. That
Yeah.
had to be hard. Did you ever worry?
Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, because he was in the riots that were in Belle Isle.
In
So
Detroit?
in Detroit.
Uh-huh. But that was not when you were a kid.
I was a kid then.
Yeah.
Yeah, but so, yeah, he retired at 49 and went back into security, which I did. I was in Miami and with the prisons, the jails, the police, and then when I finished there, I went into security. Sister Julie brought me into Dominican Hospital,
Okay.
so I was in charge of security at the hospital.
Let's go back to Miami. So when you were in the criminal justice and you were working the streets with the police?
Oh, yes.
Tell us about that.
Well, there was an ad in the paper that they needed chaplains.
So you were a chaplain.
And I
okay.
was, and so I interviewed as a chaplain, and they said definitely, because they had quite a few women on the department, and they said we definitely need a female woman chaplain. So then I joined the chaplaincy corps and had the uniforms. I did everything that the officers did. Rode with them, went on the stings, the reverse stings. We did everything. Suicides.
So you rode with them in the police
Yes,
car?
in the police car. And then I also worked with the K-9 unit.
Tell me, that's interesting. You went right with the police personnel in the car. That was important that a chaplain be with them because of whatever they might experience?
Yes, and if there were shootouts, you know, the men had, their guns came out often.
Uh-huh.
And, but they wanted, the chief wanted me to get to know the officers.
Okay.
And you don't do that behind a desk.
Okay.
So he said, I want you in the car. So not only in the car, I went with the K-9, with the Marine Patrol, the boats.
The boats, uh-huh.
That was,
Water.
oh gosh, that was, we had Marine Patrol and the dogs with us, and we'd chase drug runners. And when they would, we'd pull them over, we'd let the dog in the boat, and he would tear that place apart. And at one instance, we found $10,000 with all the other gear. So that was, see, now that I loved. It was so exciting. So I enjoyed that.
It was so exciting, but also you are very caring. You are a very caring, compassionate person. So as you see, and you
So
said
you're
that
kidding
dog
me? Lock them up.
Okay.
No,
Yeah.
it was. But it was to get to know the officers.
Got it.
But anyway, it was the K-9, the helicopter. I went in the helicopters. That was exciting because, you know, the officers have numbers on the top of their cars.
Yeah.
And if there was a crime
right.
going on in process, then they would say, card 34, take a left, you know, 36, you take a right, and they would close in on the instance.
That's right, they could.
So
Okay.
that's how they could direct from above. And there was no door. It was just a bar across me, and he'd make a turn and think, oh, sweet Jesus, you know, just hold on and shut up. So anyways,
So you called upon the presence of the Holy Spirit and God very often.
A lot. I said God was my co-pilot.
That's nice.
But I enjoyed meeting the officers, wonderful, wonderful men and women. In fact, I still keep in touch with them today.
From Miami? I know you keep in touch with a lot of them. But
And I got quite a few titles. I had Blue Nun,
right.
Miami Nice. Now, Miami Vice was real popular then.
Okay.
So it was
Okay,
Miami,
that's right, yeah.
From Nice to Vice. And then I guess I said Blue Nun. And I think there was a few more. Oh, Nun with a Gun. That was crazy, but I did carry a shotgun.
Because?
Well, for the riots and the stings. And see, we'd have a sting, and the officers would surround a building, and they would all run in, arrest people. And
Wouldn't the chaplain stay in the car?
Oh, yeah, by the car.
Oh, by the car.
Yeah, and guarded it with the shotgun. Because people would be afraid that they would put the offenders in the car and then go back and do something else.
Got it.
So I was like guarding the guys that were arrested.
Oh, God.
It was no problem. But you just do what you have to do. And
You didn't have the what we always are associated with, a ruler.
No,
You had a
the
shotgun.
rulers went to shotguns.
The ruler, yeah, from ruler to shotgun.
Yeah, my
no.
colors from black and blue, remember, those were our school colors with the ruler, and now they were the shotguns. But do you ever, I don't know if you've probably not, have ever heard to rack a shotgun? It's kind of scary. So, but anyways, never had to use it.
That's
But
not
it's just,
part of my experience. Just a little wild first and second graders.
Yes. So anyways, that was my
And then you went
history.
to out west, and you were at our hospital.
Yes.
And you were on security there. Now, what did the security at the hospital?
Well, main hiring, firing, a lot of getting involved with daily routines. We released the deceased people from the hospital, a lot of patrol. We had a behavioral health unit that we were called upon to sedate or help sedate people that went, you know, had problems with mental health. But while I was in there, I always, wherever I was stationed, I always did volunteer work at any local place I could get into. Prisons, so I did a lot of prison work.
Okay.
In California, I was in the Santa Cruz jail and Soledad prison. Now, Soledad is the biggest prison I have ever been in. It was huge. And then, but I went out there, had to go through a lot of background check to get into Soledad.
And what did you do there?
It was mainly counseling and religious services, Mass and liturgy, and a lot of the men would come to the services and also religious services like
Right.
retreats.
Right. Yeah.
Interesting.
Very
men.
important. I have a
Yeah.
brother-in-law that works in a prison in Manistee.
Oh,
He's worked in
yes.
several prisons.
Yes.
And now they just got thrown out again because of COVID.
Yeah.
But really, the units that they go visit, it's very affirming to the young
is.
people. Now, whether or not they just go to the religious services to get out of wherever they are, but they get something out of it, and he gets a lot out of it.
Yeah.
So
Well,
that's
I was also, I think I've been in every state, not every, but state prisons, federal prisons, county, and I was in Milan, that's federal,
right.
and Jackson. I was in Jackson prison. That was before it went, it's different now than it used to be, just holding inmates. But they had a max there, and I taught. I was teacher there.
Well, you know, I used to be a runner, and I shouldn't be
Oh,
putting
that's
myself in
right.
this story. I used to be a runner, but when my brother-in-law worked in Ionia, they had a race with the prisoners. I mean, it was
Oh,
it had
nice.
different levels, so it was
Sure.
not the most secure people. But we had to be cleared and all that kind of stuff. We got to be cleared to run this 3K race,
Wasn't that
yeah, it
interesting?
was fascinating. They did that
Oh,
once, they
yeah.
never did it again.
Oh,
But it was, it was fascinating.
it was.
An interesting
And
experience.
the inmates enjoyed it too.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that was.
And it was something for us to say. So where do you find yourself at this time of your life?
Well, there were so many things I was going to do when I retired. But, age is creeping up.
Mm-hmm.
And you think that, oh, I can do this and that. I'll save all these projects when I retire. I'm too tired now.
Mm-hmm.
So now I don't think I mentioned we have a cabin up in the North Woods.
Who's
my
we?
mom and
Oh,
dad's?
your mom. Okay,
yeah,
your
and the
family.
family uses that. And it's very rustic. It's about the size of a 3-car garage. No insulation, no inside plumbing. So they tease me about the outhouse. And we do have water at the sink, 10 gallons.
Okay.
So I go up there and spend a lot of retreat time at the cabin, and
Good.
I love that.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm always determined to write my book, my logs. I've kept my logs from Miami.
Now, when you say your logs, you mean of everything
That
every
I
day?
did daily.
Okay.
Yeah, we always had to keep a log that we did daily. And when we were out with the officers.
Is
so.
there one story that you just will always remember?
Well, we were called on a suicide, and by the time we got there, the woman was dead, and she had dogs, and they always said, I'm not going in there, the officers, I'm not going in there. Well, I'll go. I always have had a dog. So I went in 2 Dobermans. So I said, I'll handle the dogs, you take care
Why
of the
didn't they?
woman.
Because the dogs would
They're
go
afraid
wild?
of the Dobermans.
Okay.
Yeah, and so I said, well, I'll take the Doberman, the dogs, you take care of the woman. So I did, and they were very gentle. They
knew it.
Yeah,
They
well, I
had
knew
good
how to
instinct.
approach them,
Yeah.
and I think the officers just panicked. So anyway, we took care of the dogs, and then made sure that someone was there to take care of them when they took the
Yeah.
woman away.
Yeah.
And she had written a farewell letter, and the officer gave it to me, and he said, okay, now would you read the letter while I drive to the station? Oh, the letter was awful. I said, are you sure you want me to read this? And I said, you read it, because it was a little gory, and how
Oh.
she wanted to die, and
Oh.
a lot about things that, were, I'm sure, personal.
So you didn't comfort the
That was
officer?
just one story,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
there were
Well,
so
I
many.
encourage you to do something with that book that you want to
I
write.
should,
You've got the time, and it's a
I
great
really-
gift to
yeah.
give to everybody. I mean, to let us know, and to more appreciation for that
Yeah.
police force. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, and there was, officers
And
were
chaplains, yeah.
wonderful. Yeah, just, and then I hear these stories about go defund the police. I'm thinking, oh my gosh, we've got the best criminal justice system in the world. It's the people in it that need to be educated, or
Yeah.
need to get some compassion, but the policemen, they're not just police. They're social workers, they're doctors, they're nurses. I was in the car once with Willie, he was my partner. He jumped out of the car and went over to this garbage dump. And he turned, there was a refrigerator thrown in. And so he said, come give me a hand here. And we turned the refrigerator over so the door was on the ground. I said, what was that all about? I said, some little kid's going to come out here and play and get locked in that refrigerator. Now, it was things like that. Crime prevention, they did a lot of that.
Yeah. Yeah.
But the people in the community don't always see it.
No. Unless we hear stories like this.
And there were hundreds of them, yeah. I meant to go back a bit when I went to the university in getting my master's. They said you could have a choice. You could do a thesis or travel and see the criminal justice system in England and Germany. So I did.
Wonderful.
So I went through the whole criminal justice system in England and also in Germany. It was very different than ours, but of course we're based on the English system.
Yeah.
So it wasn't too different, but we saw everything in their system. It was so interesting. I really enjoyed that trip.
So then, as you look down the road at your future and what's God calling you to at this time, besides the book, writing the book
Besides
from
the
those
book.
logs? Yeah.
Well, I have a scripture quoting, something
Good.
that I would maybe inspires me and keeps me going. And it goes like this. It's, to fall in love with God is the greatest of all romances. To seek God is the greatest of all adventures. But to find God is the greatest human achievement. And I think not just me, but a lot of the sisters, a lot of the people, lay people, they do that every day. We fall in love with God. We seek Him through our ministry, other people, and we find Him. And everyone has a different way of finding their God.
Every day.
Every day.
Mm-hmm.
And that keeps me going.
Mm-hmm.
So now, where am I going to find Him today? Where am I going to look? And then falling in love is kind of a natural.
That's beautiful.
So, but I do
Really?
like that. In fact, remember, I want that written on my missalette when they haul me out of
Let it
chapel.
be known. Get your funeral stuff ready.
Yeah. Oh, yes.
As we reach the end, more
Yeah, and
we're closer to the end than whatever.
Yeah.
So it's this time of your life that you want to certainly enjoy. Is there something you wanted to share, or is there something about you that we would say, oh my gosh, I didn't know that about Beth Butler? I think a lot of people didn't know how you were involved in the police force. You know. But just something else?
Well, I went to Mackenzie. I was queen of the
know from
class.
Detroit,
Did I
that's
tell you?
right.
I was queen of the class.
No.
Nobody knows that.
It was
I never
from Mackenzie on the west side,
West side
and it
of
was
town.
Denby or Cooley on the east side.
But those were our rivals.
Yeah, I
We
know,
didn't
but
like the
You're
guys.
from Detroit.
Yeah, and I was on the swim team and the hockey team.
Oh, the hockey team, that
Yeah.
would be.
In
So you like
fact-
hockey?
Oh, yes. Field hockey it was.
Yeah, okay.
But then when I told you about our mission, me going to St. Joseph's downtown because
Yes.
of what goings on in Chicago. Anyway, when I was changed, I went to Miami Beach, and it was an old hotel that they renovated for a convent, and it had a pool.
Oh, nice.
Now,
That's right, St. Joseph's.
How does God get any better than that? So I was in the pool every night, and we'd say our rosary in the pool.
Thank you,
with
sister.
the nuns,
I'm glad
yes.
you said your rosary every
Yes.
night. So anything else that you want to end your...
I
Your story's
think-
not over yet. We'll get part 2 from you at some point.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, I think I spent most of the years that you enjoyed
Yes.
were the ones with police in
Yeah.
prison. But put them up against first graders, and it's a challenge.
Yeah, but just your presence was
Yeah, it
was a
was
blessing,
fun.
and you certainly brought the idea of, what about a nun? A nun being in
Oh, and criminal
Sitting at
justice.
criminal
Yeah, most of
justice,
my
yeah.
courses were all men in Michigan State.
yeah,
So, but because it was,
Yeah.
it was back in the 80s,
yeah.
so people didn't think. And
So your dad was happy, or was he still alive when you
Well,
got involved in
if he knew I was with police, he'd said, no daughter of mine is ever going to go into police work.
Oh, did he?
Well, after he passed,
There I am, Dad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's wonderful.
but
Beth.
now I don't know if my time is up. So,
Almost.
Oh, because I did want to mention that with the police, I had mentioned to you before that I still keep in touch. We skied together a lot. I used to ski quite a bit. And we were on the ski team. We went with them. We went to Jackson Hole, we went to Blue Knob, we went to all over with the ski team. And that was fun.
Your community
So-
was the men from the police department.
Yes,
Really?
yes.
Yeah.
And like I say, I was just invited out to have a get-together with them, and with a dear friend, Jerry Stewart, and Mary Lou Woods, who was my partner, out in Friant, California, for a get-together. So, yeah,
Did you go?
no, it's still coming up.
Oh, you're going.
So I'm not sure. But we're going to think about this, the price of the airfare and COVID.
Okay, well, see me
and-
later. Yeah.
Oh.
but anyway, anything else, Beth, that you would...
I think not. Just that the quote that I left with
I like
you
that,
is
yeah.
from, it's for all of our Dominican sisters. And I've just been so supported by so many of our nuns
Yes.
and inspired. And Julie Heyer was one that got me out to a Dominican hospital.
Good.
She was always out to get the nuns. and she got me into security out there.
Wonderful.
And so our nuns, honest, you know, I think this story is important. Well, our sisters, my glory, what they do.
Exactly.
You name a ministry and they're in it.
Exactly.
They can do anything. And if any, you know, young girl or young woman who wanted to know about religious life, all she has to do is check in, because I just don't want to say St. Catherine say that if girls, women knew what religious life was like, they'd have to build fences around our convents to keep them out.
Oh, God. That's
Yeah,
good.
did you
I
know
didn't
that? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
And it's so true. The best thing that ever happened
So
to
that's
me.
why it's so important that our women do share their story.
I
And one
guess
is
so.
not any better. It's called diversity. One is
Yeah.
we all have different interests.
Mm-hmm. Different gifts.
Yeah.
And
Different fears.
but it's just been a wonderful life.
Yes.
And
well,
I would
thank you.
highly recommend it.
Highly recommend it. Well, take your time and be good to yourself, yes, and enjoy this time of your life. And I know you love it up there in Mayo and with your
Oh, yeah.
family when you get a chance. They're still in Detroit area?
Yes.
Yeah.
In Trenton.
Trenton, yeah.
Trenton,
Well,
Trenton.
and I hope you told them about this. And
No, I said to Peg, I'd better go to the dentist than.
yes,
But it hasn't been hard. It didn't hurt.
but you and your family. Now, who's still alive? Your sister.
A sister and a brother.
And your sister's name is?
Donnie
And your
Steele,
brother?
and brother Terry Butler,
Terry.
who we don't like to acknowledge. He's our ex-Marine. No, you don't say ex-Marine.
Former?
Former, but you know, he's a diehard Marine.
Okay.
We have a couple of them, but they're still alive, and of course, very supportive. He is.
Uh-huh.
You don't call unless you've got a joke for Terry. So.
Very
And
good.
a bottle of beer. So.
Okay. Okay, wonderful. Well, thank you, Beth Butler. Sister Margaret Vincent.
was-
Now, how'd you get, was that your mother and dad's name?
Yes.
Okay, Margaret
Yeah.
Vincent. We always like to mention who you were, because some of our
Oh, yes.
benefactors have said, I don't know, Sister Beth Butler. Who was she? And then,
Oh, yeah.
so we like to put it in our stories.
Yeah, you know, I like at downtown Adrian. I was there for 2 years at St. Joe's.
Okay.
I had the Kirby kids and
I don't think
a lot of them
yeah.
down there. So
Yeah, yeah. Well,
They would-
Adrian has changed. Well, anyway, it's nice to have you back in the area. Manitou Beach is where you are, really. I think I said you were in Adrian. So thank you very much for your ministry, for you and your presence among so many, and for all the good that you have done just by being who you are, and in that
Thank you,
ministry,
Peg.
which was very special. So God bless you, and continue every day as you look out and wake up and see God walking down the street. I just think we don't realize it.
yeah,
God is around
Yeah.
us, just within us, or surround us, behind us. So thank you very much.